Okay, folks, Andrew Bulpros here. Well, I want to do a video on the number 12th ranked offensive lineman in the NFL, according to PFF, which is take it or leave it, right? I mean, some people like PFF, some people don't. At the end of the day, it does make for some interesting news. But for the Chargers, he could be the highest paid offensive lineman in the NFL. Lots to talk about here, guys. So let's get into it. Bull Bros. Okay, folks, as always, like and subscribe if you do enjoy the content. I'm Andrew Bulpros. And again, leave a like, leave a comment. It helps the algorithm, helps us out. Again, we don't really ask you for any money, but at the end of the day, that does help us out very much so more people can see these videos. So let's just talk about Harbaugh and Joe Ortiz. Joe Ortiz has done a fantastic job. Just remember, guys, when he came into this general manager role, we were $30 million over the cap. Now we are currently $20 million under the cap, which is fantastic to think about where we were, right? I'm going to show you a dead cap money chart here in a second. But again, there's a lot to be said about where he's taken this team. And Jim Harbaugh, as we all know, is a run-first head coach. We say that. I don't really know that it's really going to be as run-heavy as a lot of people are assuming, but we're definitely going to be a physical team, and Rashawn Slater fits that bill. So the argument has been, and it's been the narrative, that we are trying to lock him up to a very long-term contract. So let me show you the dead cap money first, which I still think is a little bit, it's crazy when you see the numbers here. $54 million that are just going out the door. J.C. Jackson, man, what a bust. Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, we all know how much money was spent. I mean, Eric Hendricks he's double dipping. Corey Linsley, sadly, is retiring. And again, I've said this on many videos. I really felt like when Corey Linsley went down last year, that's really when our season just imploded. Our offensive line play was horrible. Sebastian Joseph Day, Dustin Hopkins, yada, yada. $54 million gone. Just gone. Wasted money for this season. And so the fact that we're $20 million in the green right now is incredible to me. Really and truly. I mean, you have to sit back and just really appreciate what Joe Ortiz has done. Our prior regime, I think, saw the writing on the wall, knew that their jobs were in jeopardy. And typically what happens, you just blow money, try to get money to fix it. And clearly we're still paying the price. So, but one person that they did get right was Rashawn Slater. And so let's talk a little bit about him. Now, again, Rashawn Slater, again, he's the 12th ranked offensive lineman by PFF. Now, again, you might be saying, well, Andrew, he's locked up. He is locked up for one more year. I think next 2025, he did sign an extension. He's going to get paid roughly $20 million, if I remember correctly. Rashawn, yeah, $19 million. So we do have him for another year after this, but the argument could be made, hey, you want to lock him up sooner rather than later. I agree with that. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the offensive line group here. In general to some degree, but really mostly focusing on Rashawn Slater. The thing about Rashawn Slater, we all know he was great. Last year, he struggled because he was injured all season. He had, we're finding out now that he'd had a lot of problems, injuries, and they were affecting his ability to be successful. The interesting thing about PFF, though, they did talk about how the Chargers could actually have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL this year. He just some general snippets here. We may talk about the Chargers a year from now as having the NFL's best offensive tackle duo. Again, that's Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt. We all know that. Talk a little more about Joe Alt in a second as well, too. And then the 5th overall pick in the 24 was just Joe Alt. And they also signed Bradley Bozeman, who is not a bad center, guys. He was on a crappy team. You know that. I know that. He is gigantic. He's like 6'5". The guy is a beast, right? Again, he's going to be as good as Corey Linsley? Probably not. But if he's anywhere close, I think we'll be in great shape. Again, there's still room for improvement on the interior for Zion Johnson. Hopefully he takes a leap forward in his 3rd season. And so, again, Rashawn Slater, we all know is amazing. He's already an all-pro. Again, 12th ranked offensive lineman in the NFL at the moment. A lot of people think that we are working on getting him an extension. Again, we have $20 million available to potentially spend. I would think if we do give him that extension or we give him that longer term contract, that would be really just here's some signing bonus money. Here's 8 million, 10 million, whatever. And then you get your 20 million next year. And then after that, you start getting paid the real money, right? And in 2026 and beyond. It's essentially what we did with Justin Herbert, but we'll see what happens. But again, that's where the conversation's going. But Zion Johnson, I have to say this, right? I don't know if you saw that video of him pulling that truck, literally like yesterday, right? He's pulling a truck all over the place, and you're like, holy cow, man, this guy's ripped. He came into OTAs absolutely. I mean, look at these guns right here as you're looking at them. It's like, my God, they're bigger now. I mean, the guy came into the league gigantic. He's a little thinner, a little more trim, but he is extremely strong. So I'm really expecting a bit of a bounce back year for him moving forward. And again, I do think PFF is right. I think we could potentially have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. And again, our fifth pick was this guy right here, Joe Alt. Again, kid is 21 years old, and he's a freak of nature. He's still getting into his body. Think about that for a second. He's still growing into his body. So there's a lot to be said about how good this guy can be. I think he will be very good on that side, especially if you get Trey Pipkins to do well as the right guard. Arguably the best offensive line in the league. Now, again, they got to go out and prove it, right? We're going to be physical. We're going to run the ball, do everything we need to do. But let's talk numbers briefly. And, going back to Zion Johnson a little bit, he is looking to be one of those pivotal players this season, right? Like last season, he struggled a bit, right? He really an overall PFF grade of 64.8 as a rookie, just above average, okay? He slid back to 57.6 in 2023, so he regressed. Now, again, we moved him to the right side. I don't think that was his natural position. But the interesting thing about Zion Johnson also, I think he could potentially be a backup center. So I'm very curious to see what happens, with Bradley Bozeman. Also, Jordan McFadden could be one. But Zion coming back, his run block grades, 69.5 in 2022 and fell to 57.2. But passing, he did better. He was a 52.6 as a rookie and 58.8 last season. So in 2023. So again, it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out specifically with Zion Johnson and this entire offensive line. But again, going back to Joe Alt, we'll see. I mean, the kid is a kid. He's 21 years old. So he's got lots to prove in the NFL. And we'll go from there. So, but let's talk a little bit let's switch up the conversation about offensive linemen that have just gotten paid and what Rashawn Slater might get paid. So the guy that I want to talk about right now is this guy right here, Penei Sewell, the Lions. And he got paid. He got his bags. So, anyways, my point is, Rashawn Slater, we already know is he's a Pro Bowler already. Second team All Pros, considered one of the top offensive line in the league. Again, 12th overall. His extension is finalized. Again, locked up until 2025. He's getting, $19 million. Currently, the highest paid offensive lineman is the Detroit Lions, Penei Sewell, this man right here. $28 million per year. And I guess the Texans have one at $25 million also. And there's 6 others earning around $20 million. So we already know that he's getting $19 million next year. So the argument could be made, why not lock him up now, maybe pay him $30 million a year, which is a lot of money, guys. I mean, come on. I think that'd probably be the high end, but at the end of the day, it would give him an opportunity to really be competitive with some of these other offensive linemen, right? And Rashawn Slater, we all know how good he is. And again, it depends on what we really want to accomplish. You want bookends. We already got Joe Alt on the right side, and we got Rashawn Slater on the left. So the argument could be made, well, let's lock him up now, because what if he has another Pro Bowl season? We'll just have to pay him more money. So let's just lock him up to a good long-term contract and go from there. So what are they saying? As Slater enters his 4th season, he has the potential to become the second offensive lineman to earn over $25 million per year. Even resetting the market, another strong season could solidify his position as one of the highest paid players at his position. So the argument could be made to lock him up right now at maybe just $28 million or maybe $29 million. Pay him $1 million over what Penei Sewell is getting paid. But lock him up to a very long-term contract and go from there. So I think that could happen, guys. And, we all know the Chargers got some money left over right now. I mean, again, we're paying, obscene amount of money to players that aren't even playing with the Chargers anymore. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Brandon Staley. But at the end of the day, Rashawn Slater, we all know, is our future. He definitely protects Justin Herbert. And then secondarily, we have Joe Alt, who's going to be protecting Justin Herbert on the right side. So look, this offensive line is just going to get more and more expensive depending on how we're going to use them. So the argument could be made, lock him up now, get him his bags, and go and move on with your life, right? Let's get that solidified. But what do you guys think? Should we let Rashawn have one more year, extend him out, maybe sign him during the season, which isn't very likely for the most part? Or should we sign him to a long-term contract now, deal with the rest later, make him the highest paid offensive lineman now? What number do you think makes a lot of sense? Again, leave a comment and a like down for the algorithm. It really does help us out. So as always, guys, Andrew Bopros, see you guys in the next one.